Let's stop haterade in the kingdom. There's so much haterade in the kingdom. I mean, whether it is in your local church, whether it is in a denomination, whether it is in a fellowship, whether it is just cross social media lines or what have you. Man, have you seen so much haterade? Well, let's deal with that this morning. Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful morning it is. And this morning, let's talk about haterade. Haterade. How do we deal with haterade in the kingdom? Good morning, Angela. How are you on this morning? Let's talk about haterade. Have you ever had to deal with haterade, somebody throwing shade and doing all of those kinds of things? And you know what? That haterade hinders the kingdom. Haterade hinders the kingdom from moving forward. And that's what we want to deal with on this morning. Good morning, Pamela. How are you on this morning? You know what? As I greet people, I just want you to turn with me to Matthew 20. Matthew 20. And I'm going to be reading this. Man, it's an excellent. I'm going to do a little more reading than typical. The 20th chapter of Matthew. There's this wonderful, wonderful parable that Jesus tells. Now, you know it well when it says the first shall be last and the last first. Well, we're going to kind of deal with that this morning. But before we move any further, good morning, Val. How are you on this morning? Good morning, Cuz. Robert, how are you on this morning? What a wonderful morning. And I want to deal with this whole haterade thing. Kind of came in my spirit when lately we've been dealing with different views of tithing, and different people got different approaches of tithing, and whether it's in the law, not in the law, and all of that. And as I'm reading and checking out everybody's response, I'm seeing and reading a preponderance of haterade in the kingdom. So I just felt like, you know what? Let's deal with that this morning. Haterade. If you ever had to deal with that in any way, role, Yvonne, how are you on this morning? Fran, how are you? Joel, how are you? Have you ever had to deal with haterade? You know what? Maybe even in your family. I'm going to be going to a family reunion here in a few days. And sometimes even within your family, not even within the kingdom, there's haterade. People throwing shade, just bad vibes, bad energy, because you seem to have more than what somebody else has. There's three things I'm going to deal with this morning. The text, the talk, and the takeaway. Three things about the text that I'm going to share. Going to do a little bit of reading this morning, more than typical, but 5 minutes or less. Let's jump right into it this morning. Haterade in the kingdom, maybe even in your own home. How do I deal with that? Matthew 20 and 12. Matthew 20 and 12. These men who were hired at last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of work in the heat of the day. What's up with that, Jesus? Here we have this wonderful parable of Jesus talking about people going to work. Now, some went to work and worked all day. Others stood around, and then the foreman came up and says, "What are you doing?" They says, "Well, you know what? We don't have any work." He says, "Go to work right now." Still others came along a little bit later, and they only worked about an hour. At the end of the day, the foreman came and started paying people. And he paid those that worked an hour just like he paid those that had worked all day. Well, there was outrage. And they snapped, they went off. And then Jesus responded to this. I liken this to what I see, maybe in your own family, in your own church, in the kingdom, what have you. It is as if you are getting more than me, and it doesn't seem like you have done as much as me, then I gotta hate on you. I'm throwing shade. What is going on? I need you to understand something. Three things you need to grab out of this so that you might be able to let somebody else be blessed and move on with what God is doing in your life. The first thing is worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Look at the 14th verse in the 20th chapter of Matthew, and he says, now this is Jesus talking, take your money and go. I want to give the man who was hired last the same as I gave you. Take your money. In other words, you worry about yourself. Be happy with what you have. I have found that when you are discontent, more often than not, it's because you have seen and looked over at somebody else's lawn and seen or think it is greener than yours. Worry about yourself. The second thing is this. Isn't it Jesus' right to bless who he wants to bless? Listen at the 15th verse. I love this. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Don't I have the right? Can't Jesus bless who he want to bless? If you're not getting your blessing, can you check yourself? I mean, okay, sure, you worked all day. That's what the parable said. You worked all day. You got what you got. Worry about yourself and then let Jesus bless who he wants to bless. I have found that when we start paying more attention to what he's doing in the lives of others, we ignore what he's doing in our own lives. Worry about yourself. It's Jesus' right to bless who he want to bless. And here's the third thing. Jealousy is crueler than the grave. Look at this. The B portion of the 15th verse, it says, or are you envious because I am generous? Are you envious because I am generous? It's Jesus' right. He bless who he wants to bless. Worry about yourself. And at the end of the day, are you just plain flat out envious? Jealousy is crueler than the grave because it takes you into a place where you're constantly paying attention to what God is doing in somebody else's life. And you can't ever put your own eyes on what he's doing in your life. What's your takeaway this morning in this haterade in the kingdom, maybe even in your own home or your local church or just wherever you go on your job? Here's your takeaway. If you want more, be grateful for what you have. Thankfulness makes room for more. Thankfulness makes room for more. When you are thankful for what you have, then God says, I can give you more. But when you are always looking at somebody else's stuff, your vibe is bad. And the vibration is God is saying, look at here. It's my right. I bless who I want to bless.